In this tutorial, what I want to do is look more closely at one of the parts of this user interface, the toolbar, and adjust it so that it suits the way that we want to work. We'll also look further down our user interface, whereby we'll look at the time display. So first of all, we'll look at our toolbar. Now, as you can see at the moment, these options are the ones that are available, and they range from being able to create a new empty project, and then to the right we could click on the Properties button, and moving right across to the right, well, we'll see a Help button. If we want to alter what's on display here in terms of the order, or indeed exactly what is on display, maybe we want to remove some of these buttons, well, let me show you how we can do this. Now, even if I do make some go missing, that doesn't mean that I can't get them back subsequently. Well, it's simple enough to do this. Just run up to your options menu, click and roll right down here where we see this option, Customize Toolbar. Once you click on it, then of course you're going to see this user interface. It looks fairly innocuous, but it is very powerful. You'll notice just as a cursory glance that it's made up of two panes. Focusing our attention on the left-hand side, well, you can see that I've got a list here, and this list allows me to choose from all the available button options. And then by moving our attention to the right-hand pane, whatever shows up in there will be exactly what we have on display populated in our toolbar area. Now, in my opinion, what you do choose to display here will be based on two factors: which of these buttons you use the most, and perhaps to a lesser degree, your monitor width. For example, if I want to remove this option, the option to display interactive tutorials, well, first of all, I would select it. Then in the right-hand side there, in the right-hand pane, simply click on here, this remove button, and immediately this interactive tutorials option becomes unavailable on our toolbar. Now, of course, to return back to where we were and bring this back in, move your attention back over to the left-hand pane, select it once more, and then come over here and click on Add. Easy enough. That's how easy it is when we want to add or remove a button. But maybe we don't want to add or remove a button. We simply want to reorder or reposition the way these buttons run from left to right on our toolbar. Well, it's just as easy as well. Go back over to your left-hand pane, then notice this list of available buttons is vertically presented to us. Notice from top to bottom, this relates to the toolbar, running left to right. So what we see here vertically top to bottom, the top on our toolbar will be our left button, and what we see at the bottom will be the furthest right button. So, for example, with our Properties button, maybe I want to reposition it so that it's before the button that's there at present. Well, all I need to do is select Properties and then simply click on this Move Up button, remembering that the further up our vertical list, then the further, in reality on our toolbar, they will be towards the left-hand side. And as you can see in our user interface here, that has moved it up by one position, and as a consequence, notice also, instantly it gets moved on our toolbar to the left. Now, no prizes for guessing. To move it back, i.e. to reposition it to the right again, then we would have to simply lower it in our vertical list in the user interface here. So by having Properties selected once more, all I need to do is simply click on Move Down. Consequently, it now gets moved to the right on our toolbar. And as you can see, it's updated instantly once more. Okay, so it's that easy then when we want to adapt our buttons on our toolbar. Now, I'm actually going to leave them as they are. I don't really want to change them. I might do as the course progresses, but certainly not for the moment. So I'll close this. Now, what I want to look at now is the time display, as I said earlier on in this tutorial. What I'll do is add a video clip to our timeline, first of all. So I'll go up to File, and then roll down to Import, and then fly out to the right, across to that option there, Media. Now, we have seen how we do this before. I'll open it up in the same way. And there you'll see my thumbnail preview, as we have seen before. And also, as we've seen before, if I double click on it, then it instantly gets sent down to my timeline and added, of course, to my track list. Right, let me just explain this. The time display window, well, it shows the time position that my cursor is at on my timeline. And therefore, at present, if I move my cursor to the end of the clip, then of course we see the cursor position is at the end of the clip, and the time display updates to inform us of that clip's length. And that's reflected in the time display. Therefore, the time display here shows this positional reference. By the way, if you want to alter the readout of your time display, i.e. the way that it shows up, then all you need to do is simply right-click on it and then choose from any of these different options. Now I'm going to leave it as it is. Now as we progress through this VTC course, if I do need to change the way that this time is displayed, then I will change it appropriately. As I say, for the moment I'm going to leave it as it is, but should you want to, that's where you find that option. So then, if I move my cursor, then we'll see the precise readout on our time display where my cursor is. And this is accurate at this setting right down to frame level. If I take my cursor right to the beginning, then of course my time display will display at 0 in terms of hours, minutes, seconds and frames. But of course if I subsequently move the CTI, my current time indicator, then the time display updates to reflect where it is now repositioned. Now there is one more thing I want to look at before we conclude this tutorial. At the moment my time display is fixed here. However, should I want to adapt it and move it to a different position on my user interface, well I can do that just as easily as I did with my toolbar. At the moment, because it is secure in one place, it's known as a docked panel. If I want to make the time display float around, so that I can move it around my user interface as I'm working on a project, rather than it being docked, well I can do this by grabbing those dots there. See those dots? Well that's known as a gripper, and if I left click on those dots, I can grip onto this time display, left click and drag and reposition so that it floats above all the other panels. Now if I want to take it back to where we started, down here, then all I would do is left click on it. Now I'm not going to see those dots, those gripping dots, when it's floating around, but it works in exactly the same way. Left click on it and drag down back to here where we originated, declick and there you go. It now becomes docked once more. Okay, simple enough. Right, we'll conclude this tutorial then, now that we've looked at how we can easily adapt our toolbar and our time display.